Giannis making his long-awaited return after his 15-game absence. He was out with that calf injury. It's the second one of the season. He was hosting the Boston Celtics last night. So here with Ramona Shelburne, Tim McMahon. Let's get straight to the action here. Giannis imposing his will early here, Tim.
Yeah, it looks like Giannis just getting right to the rim whenever he wants.
Getting to the rim exactly when you need him. There he is.
1 on 3.
He subbed out, though, after 6 minutes in the first here. And then early in the second, Giannis still on the bench. This is when the Celtics start to make their run. Sam Hauser pokes it away. Pritchard picks it up. Oh.
Not eligible for the award, but best sixth man in the league.
Celtics up by 12. And then next possession, Nikola Vucevic finds Hauser.
It's been a nice fit there, Vucevic.
Drains the three. The Celtics, they lead by 15. So off to the third we go. Bucks down 14. A little big-to-big action here. Miles Turner finds Giannis, who stuffs it this time over 1, 2, 3. Count them out. That's 4 Celtics defenders. Still, though, it's a big lead for the Celtics. Giannis once again spins his way inside. He had 19 points, 11 rebounds. But here, you see the Celtics' depth on display. Derek White takes it the other way, gives it back here to Gonzalez. Watch him. Finds him for the nice little backdoor cut. Celtics go on to win this one 108-81. Here's Giannis on how he felt in his return.
Let me be honest with you.
Welcoming in our reporter who covers the Bucks for us, Jamal Collier. Jamal, you're in the Bulls arena right now, but you were in Milwaukee last night. What was the feeling around Giannis and his return here?
Well, Malika, excitement for the Bucks to have him back on the court.
Sure.
The first time since the trade deadline. He's still in Milwaukee, but also optimism. I mean, this was coming off a stretch where the Bucks had one of their best stretches of the season. They had won 8 of 11 at some point in February. Doc Rivers said before the game that, they felt like they had turned a corner and found out how to play without Giannis. And this is a team that still is trying to chase a play-in spot in the Eastern Conference, and they're excited to get Giannis back into that mix. Giannis wasn't really ready to get into all that, as you heard after the game. He was just excited to be back on the floor after so much missed time with injuries. He's not used to that. He was kind of almost reckoning with his own basketball mortality. He's a guy who you tell him 4 weeks, right? He's going to be out. He's back in 2 weeks. And he thought it was going to be the same with this calf injury. And that's just not been the case. It's continued to recur and really robbed him of 29 games, the most missed time he's had at any point at his career for a season. So he was happy to be back on the floor, wasn't worried about how this Bucks season was going to end, but just to get back, get into rhythm, and to finally be able to play basketball again.
Yeah, it was sort of an interesting contrast, though, Jamal. You were there listening to these players. I wasn't. But to hear Giannis say that he didn't really want to go down that road, he wanted to just focus on the fact that he was back. But then you have someone like Bobby Portis, his teammate, saying that after years of competing for a championship, to just be trying to talk about competing for a play-in, he said it felt kind of off to him. And that seems to be the story of what's happening here in Milwaukee. Jamal, we appreciate it. Thank you so very much for the time. We did only have 4 games across the association last night, but why don't we just get out and run? This is more of a sprint coast to coast. We're going to start in D.C. That's where the Rockets beat the Wizards 123-118. Houston's big three, KD, Şengün, Amen Thompson. They combined for 84 points here, Tim. What are the Rockets' points of emphasis in the last stretch of the season?
Look, this is a team that's really been struggling offensively for much of the season. They decided not to go after a point guard in the trade market, in the buyout market. They are banking on the growth of Amen Thompson and Reed Shepherd.
And what a cool moment that we saw KD coaching up some of the young Wizards after the game. From east to west, that's what Darius Garland did, where he made his debut for the Clippers in a comeback win against the Warriors. Ramona, what does this win mean for L.A.?
Well, they got a lot of optimism. They played well, surprisingly well, after their trades of Ivica Zubac and James Harden. But Garland took a little while to get going, but he found it in the second half, and they rallied from a big deficit here in this game to beat the Golden State Warriors, who are now falling in that win.
And it seems like, Kawhi Leonard is trying to lead the charge for this team. We did have the game of the night, though, between Jamal Murray and Keontae George. They duked it out here in Utah. So picking things up late in the fourth here, Jamal Murray spins, gets that one to go, executing late, knocking down the jumper. The Nuggets take a 1-point lead. 2:20 left. Murray loses the ball. Watch Kyle Filipowski here. Picks it up, full court heave to Keontae George, who throws it down. So now it's the Jazz playing that tune up by 4. A few possessions later, all knotted. Keontae George finishes that layup inside, plus the foul.
It's his second game back after missing a couple of weeks with that injury.
And he finished with 36 points. Next Nuggets possession here, Murray, that cold mid-range jumper. He has 43 points now, Nuggets down 1. And then Jamal working again in the final seconds here. Can't get that one to go, but a foul would be called on the jumper. Elijah Harkless appears to hit him maybe on the wrist there.
Oh, he definitely does.
So watch Nikola Jokic, the frustration maybe boiling over here, Tim?
Yeah, there's been a whole lot of this. We saw a little fracas in OKC the other night. He's frustrated, I think, with physical play against him, and honestly, I think he's frustrated with his own play recently.
So Filipowski, though, was called for a foul on that one. Will Hardy, none too pleased. Tough break for the Jazz, though. Jokic missed the free throw. Nuggets up by 1. And now Jokic saying, no, pleading his case. George can't finish the layup. The call would be overturned. The Nuggets are awarded possession. This is the last chance. Can't get it to go. Murray finished with 45 points in this one. His 9th 45 point of the game. I don't know, though. That was a tight one there for the Denver Nuggets. They did improve to 10-0 when Jamal Murray scores 40 points in his regular season career. It's the 4th time scoring 40 this season. That's twice as many as any other year in his career. But they needed every one of those points to beat the Utah Jazz. Tim, you've spent a lot of time here with the Denver Nuggets, and they've been facing a ton of injuries, and they're really piling up, especially at the wing position. Aaron Gordon, Cam Johnson, Peyton Watson is out as well. How confident are they that they still have time to put this thing together?
Well, they're hoping to get 20, maybe 15 games with that group together going into the playoffs. They are confident that they can be a real threat in the Western Conference if they get healthy, but it is a big if. They're expecting to get Peyton Watson and Aaron Gordon back soon. Again, though, with Gordon, they've really got to be careful. He's the difference between them being a good defensive team and a disaster on that end, but he's had so many of these soft tissue and specifically hamstring injuries.
Yeah, and they're always so confident because Joker is Joker. But, somebody pointed out to me, it's a lot better than last year at this time. Last year at this time, when things were just falling off the rails, coach got fired, the GM got fired with a couple games left to go in the season, and they got it together at the end. And I think there's this confidence because of all the playoff success they've had over the years that this group has been together, that they will figure it out as long as they get healthy at the end.
Yeah, but we weren't seeing this last year, and maybe the bar is low if that's what they're saying is, good news, it's not where we were last year when we had to fire a head coach. But the frustration, it seems like, and you can see it in the video, Tim, that's not usually what we're accustomed to.
Aaron Gordon's his protector, though. Like, somebody was messing with Joker like that. Gordon,
I thought it was his brothers. Well, a little bit of
that too. But listen, Joker and David Adelman addressed this after the game in OKC, and basically said he thinks a lot of his frustrations coming from the way that the whistle works, right? The game is officiated differently on the perimeter than it is in the paint, where Joker takes as much beating as anybody in the league. Now, Joker also dishes out a lot. Yeah. I think you saw that there. I think, if you ask OKC, they're like, hey, a lot of that wrestling, he's initiating. And again, I'm not a psychologist. Joker would never admit this. I think a lot of Joker's frustration is he's not himself. He missed that time with the knee. The wrist, whether he admits it or not,
is bothering him.
I mean, he was seen during All-Star Weekend with a brace on that wrist, right? This is his shooting wrist. His efficiency is way down. This is not the normal, historically dominant version of Nikola Jokic we're used to seeing.
And from my understanding, chatting with folks around the Nuggets, this isn't an injury. This is an injury he's going to have to continue to manage. It's something that he's been dealing with for some time, and it's something that he's going to have to continue to deal with years, even as they try to make this playoff run. The Nuggets, they're trying to put the pieces together. We will certainly be keeping an eye on that. But we turn now to a developing story. NBA veteran Terry Rozier, former NBA player and coach Damon Jones, and more than 30 others. They appeared in a New York City courthouse today for their status conference hearings for their involvement in illegal sports betting. Now, they were charged in October of 2025. They both pleaded not guilty in December of last year. And Ramona, you've covered this case now for months, and I think it's important here, right? There are two different charges for Terry Rozier and for Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups is scheduled to have his hearing tomorrow. What are those different charges?
So the hearing today is about the gambling case. This is about providing non-public information to sports bettors who then place bets on games. Okay, so this is or taking yourself out of a game that somebody had a bet on. The hearing tomorrow is about the rigged poker games, and that is the one where Chauncey Billups and Damon Jones are alleged to have been quote-unquote face cards as part of the cheating team, where they were using x-ray glasses and they had rigged shuffling machines and Chauncey was obviously a famous player, so the people would like to play alongside of him, and that's what that case is.
Okay, so two different charges, two different cases that we're looking at here. And this morning you had a piece up on ESPN.com where you reported in detail Chauncey Billups' case here. What do we know about the case against the former head coach?
Well, a lot of what's happened between November, the last appearance, and now is that the defense attorneys have now had 3 months to go through all of the evidence and all the discovery in this case. Prosecutors said it was a terabyte of data that they had to go through.
Wow.
And so back in November, any discussion that anybody would have with prosecutors about whether they would cooperate or not cooperate, how they were going to defend their clients, you weren't worth having a discussion at that point because you didn't even know what they had, what the discovery was in this case. So now people have had time to sit with it. There's also 31 defendants in the courtroom. Usually you break up a case into smaller groups. And at that point, it was not appropriate to divide that up. But I think that's what will probably happen over the next couple of days, is that people will try to separate into different groups. They'll try to separate into different jurisdictions. All this right now is in New York, although the games that Chauncey was alleged to have played in were in Las Vegas. And so I think there's going to be a lot of procedural stuff here. The case against Chauncey, though, really comes down to, and what we're all trying to understand is, how did he become involved in this? You know, how, and there's a couple central figures in this, one of which is Damon Jones, who, as we wrote about in the piece, you know, he's a very close friend of Damon Jones. They lived together during COVID for a couple of months at Chauncey's house in Colorado. Damon Jones is named in both of these indictments. Another man is Eric Ernest, who served 12 years in prison on a drug charge. He's a guy who was at the poker game, and he's the one who Chauncey allegedly called as part of the gambling case. And so you're kind of wondering how he became involved in this. And now, presumably, his attorneys have more of an idea of what the government may think that evidence is.
Okay, so it sounds like the central question here that we are looking to have answered is, how did Chauncey Billups become involved? But this sounds incredibly complicated. A terabyte of data that everyone is going through. And the trial not expected to start at September until the earliest. Okay, so there's a lot to be going through here. Certainly, we will update everyone as this investigation is ongoing, and we will have more tomorrow on NBA Today. But coming up here on our show, last time we saw JJ and Luka, they got in a little of a tense interaction here. Was it something? Was it nothing? Was it everything? Our Dave McMenamin, he drops in with the latest information. Plus, what a night for Unrivaled. We had great action. So we're going to show you the highlights and hear from Paige Beckers and Natasha Cloud on the ongoing WCBA negotiations. It's also a very special LeBron anniversary. Anyone know what it is? We're going to have the most scintillating plays from South Beach for you. That's our hit. Keep it locked. More NBA tonight.
James on the drive. James on the answer. And here comes James pulling up from downtown. Kaboom! Clock LeBron driving in. He's got 51. Evan, can he do it again? Yes! 8 for 8 from Kaboom Town. The first 60-point game in Miami Heat history. LeBron's 61 majestic.
That was 12 years ago today. 12 years ago, his career high. So why not dust off a little top of the top? This is top LeBron moments in Miami. Starting with the
there you go.
6.
I like that.
Right? 6 for 6.
Come on.
From behind the backboard.
That's a ridiculous shot. That's like a horse shot. Nobody makes that.
And yet, here is LeBron. By the way, the Hornets, now they're on the up and up, so they get to be on the other side of some of these highlights. Now, jumping over John Lucas for the alley-oop from D-Wade. Wow. Look out below. Oh, look how high his head is.
I mean, I just always feel bad for Lucas here.
He didn't even bend his head.
There's a couple more that you might feel bad for who's on the other side. This poster on Paul Millsap. He walked through his chest.
Yep.
And then, how about some passes here? We got the no-look over-the-head dime.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was in 2011.
Eric Dampier?
The best Eric Dampier Heat highlight for sure.
All right, how about number 2? We got a huge poster here on Ben McLemore.
That's pretty good positioning defensively.
Listen,
you know what?
He's outside the circle.
Yeah.
We'll do that every
just
once in
means
a
you're a
while.
hurdle.
All right, at number 1, this is the one ultimately. Look at young Michael Malone. 2013 Finals. You know where I'm going with this one.
Oh, yeah.
Just denied Thiago Splitter at the rim.
Now.
Thiago's still asked about this.
Yeah, it's because it's a defining highlight. He just so happened to be on the other side of it. Now, LeBron obviously not done getting buckets, right? And the Lakers tonight, I'm not sure if we're going to get one of those blocks, but we could. They face the Pelicans. LeBron is now just 11 made field goals away from passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the most made shots in NBA history. So what could we be in store? Maybe another milestone for LeBron. Tonight, we're joined now by our senior NBA reporter, Dave McMenamin. He will be in Crypto.com Arena for this one. Dave, LeBron has cornered the market on milestones, but in his 8th season as a Laker, we just ran back some of the top highlights with him with the Miami Heat. What is his defining place in Lakers history here?
I think it's something worthy of discussion, Malika, because we're talking about him potentially passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in all-time field goals made. That's a cumulative statistic from his 23-year career. But just look at his time as a Laker. He's second in three-pointers, second in triple-doubles, 5th in assists, 8th in defensive rebounds, 10th in points, 4th in assists per game, 4th in points per game, and 2nd in assists per game, just as a Laker. So we're talking about him in the 4th chapter of his career, theoretically his swan song that could be ending after this season. We'll see. And you can stack up his accomplishments as a Laker, and you throw in that Finals MVP, you throw in the championship, among the greats of perhaps the greatest franchise the NBA has. I don't think his legacy with the Lakers is looked at in that light very often, and it's worth at least considering that he's done a lot of work, and a lot of good work, the time he's been with the Lakers.
Not to mention contribute a championship to this franchise, right? I think because it was in the bubble in a little bit of a different circumstance, maybe that gets looked at through a different prism. But the most recent championship, it's got LeBron's fingerprints all over it for the Los Angeles Lakers. These current Lakers, though, they're in the middle of this stretch where they have 7 of their next 8 games at home. They're trying to put some momentum together here, Dave. And there's a video going around from Saturday's win over the Warriors. It shows this interaction between Luka Doncic and J.J. Redick. A lot of people have questions about it. We're seeing it right here. Can you just describe the relationship between these two?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I checked into this with people around the league and within the team, and I'll just tell you my reporting. A league source said when he saw the video, LA is different. The smallest thing becomes the biggest thing. A source close to Luka told me that him and JJ have a strong, close relationship that dates back nearly a decade, and they're both fiercely competitive, and they push one another. A team source said, find me a star in the NBA that isn't frustrated amidst a 3-game losing streak. And so it's much ado about nothing, but hey, we know the internet likes to have their fun. In this case, if you have been around an NBA basketball team full of people who live for competition, sometimes it gets a little messy when they're trying to go towards a common goal.
Even that reporting, I don't think will stop the keyboard warriors here, Dave. Full court press to get you set. Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs. Tonight they're in Philly. That's where Tim Bontemps is. The Sixers, they won't have Joel Embiid. Tim, how long could he be out here?
Well, Blakey is out with a right oblique strain that he suffered last week against the Heat. He's out for tonight's game against the Spurs as well as tomorrow's game against the Utah Jazz, and is going to be reevaluated after that. After a bunch of leg injuries, I guess it is a positive sign. It is an oblique, but that is something that can last for a while. So we'll see if it keeps Embiid out longer as Philly tries to stay in the top 6 spots in the Eastern Conference playoff race.
All right, so without Embiid tonight and perhaps a little longer, the Thunder, they're in Chicago tonight. SGA's been back for 2 games. He's been out with that abdominal strain of his own. McMahon, what more can you tell us, because he is out tonight?
This is just a precautionary thing. 3 games and 4 nights for the Thunder with with SGA coming back from that injury. We'll be back in the lineup tomorrow, and we'll see on Jalen Williams, their All-NBA wing. He is scheduled for his official reevaluation later this week with that hamstring injury that they will be cautious with, since he's done that twice this year.
Yeah, OKC still working to get whole here. The Knicks, though, they're in Toronto tonight. They've won 11 straight against the Raptors. Timmy Goodtimes, what are you watching in this one?
Well, Malik, I'm waiting to see if the Knicks can complete a season sweep of the Raptors. They've won 11 in a row against Toronto. Obviously, the Raptors still trying to get up into the top 4 in the East themselves, so we'll see if they can avoid going 0-4 against the Knicks. And for the Knicks, they also want to try to build some momentum. As we all know, it's been a very up-and-down stretch here for them. They got that nice win against the Spurs on Sunday, and then they have the Thunder coming to Madison Square Garden tomorrow night.
And on to the Pistons and Cavs, sticking in the East here. Donovan Mitchell, he remains out, but Detroit, they get beef stew back after that 7-game suspension. Vince Goodwill, what is his impact going to be here?
Well, they'll really feel it at the rim. He's one of the best, if not the best, rim protector in basketball. Like you said, the Pistons went 6-1 in that 7-game suspension tonight against Cleveland. It's a rematch of that game on Friday night in overtime. Hopefully, the Horns will be taken care of. But to watch Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart against Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, that could be a playoff determining matchup tonight.
Well, Detroit's interior defense as a whole, they get a little boost with beef stew. They hold opponents to under 43% shooting at the rim this season. Easily the best in the NBA. So we got some good matchups tonight. But going on here to some unrivaled hoops. The semifinals, they took over Barclays Center last night. Kelsey Plum, Arike Ogunbowale, they're going to face off in the championship tomorrow night. But here's how the semis went down yesterday. We're going to pick this up late in the fourth quarter. The Phantom, 1 bucket away from winning. Kelsey Plum hits the step back to win. So the Phantom advanced to the championship 83-75. Plum had 31 points and 6 rebounds in this one. Game 2 was the Breeze versus the Mist here. Arike Ogunbowale and the Mist need a 3 to win. Brianna Stewart finds Arike. You know, going back to college, she delivers. Arike, 21 points.
Yes, she does.
And the Mist get the win, 73-69, and they advance. So again, we have the Mist and the Phantom in the unrivaled finals here. Sticking in the women's game, we're going to move now to a developing story. The WNBA and WNBPA, they continue to negotiate that new collective bargaining agreement for the upcoming season. The two sides, they've been far apart on revenue sharing as they work towards this new CBA, a process that started nearly 17 months ago when the WNBPA opted out of the previous agreement. Here's Paige Beckers.
We as players, we don't want to strike. We want to have a season. I love playing basketball. That's all I want to do. But again, there's things that need to be handled, and we want to do it as professionals.
We're still not making enough. That middleman potentially still not making enough. I think it's a starting point. I'm happy with them finally coming back to us with a proposal, but I think there's a lot more that we can do to protect our middleman, even with our jump of salary.
Some really interesting insight there from Natasha Cloud and Paige Beckers here with Ramona Shelburne, who's been covering this extensively. Ramona, we're 7 days away from this new March 10th deadline. So where do the CBA negotiations stand?
Well, when you have negotiations, there's A issues, which is the revenue sharing, and then there's B and C and D issues, right? They're still far apart on the A issue, which is revenue sharing, okay? And if you ask the players, they say, look, it's net revenue versus just regular, versus gross revenue, which is why does everyone else get paid before we do, right? Net revenue means that's after expenses are taken out. Gross revenue is before expenses are taken out. And so I think that's a very big issue. But what they've done since then, they've kind of worked on the B and C and D issues. So they've made some progress on those other issues like housing, core designations. There was a big statement that came in the last league proposal back to the players, which was that rookies who make an all-NBA team or all-WNBA team won't have that franchise tag on them. That's kind of like a Derrick Rose rule, but for the women's game. That was a big thing. And I think you should look at the statements that Kelsey Plum and Brianna Stewart also made yesterday, which was essentially saying, like, they really don't want to strike. They really don't. They want to get him. There's a momentum towards getting a deal done.
Right.
The question is, can they close the gap on how they see revenue sharing?
But my understanding is a strike is not off the table, right? It's not off the table, but it's not what either side wants here. So if it does get to that point, what are the players, what is the league weighing?
As you said, they opted out 17 months ago. They've planned for this for a long time. They have what they refer to as a lockout fund. It's about $9.5 million, which is revenue from licensing dating back to 2020 that players have been told to plan for a work stoppage, plan to not get paid for a while. There's also this lockout fund that everyone would get a portion of. Because the revenue sharing kicked in for the first time ever this year, they're each going to get a distribution. So the players feel like they are ready if it comes to that. And there's also, from what I understand, a real debate about whether or not the optics are better to strike versus being locked out if they can't come to an agreement. A strike, you lose your benefits. You're the ones who are making that decision. A lockout, that's the league making that decision. And so I think there's a lot of optics that are going to come into play here as we get down to the end.
So March 10th is the deadline that has been set here. We're only a week away from that. And as Alexa Philippou pointed out, when I said it felt like there's been several deadlines, is this truly the end-all, be-all deadline? She said that, well, what the league is saying is after March 10th, other other dates will be affected. The season would have to be shortened. March 10th is the last possible day that things could go on as they are planned right now. But as we march toward that date, we will certainly be updating this story. Hey, coming up here on NBA Today, one of the top draft prospects dazzled on Monday. What he did and what does it mean for his 2026 draft stock? That's coming up next. And 2027 draft prospect Bruce Branch III, he is going to announce where he is playing college basketball next season. Where will he pick? Find out. I'm so excited for him to join us. Into one of the best basketball months of the year. We're just 2 weeks away from the first four of the NCAA tournament. And last night, two of the top teams, they went at it. Number 4, Arizona, hosted number 6, Iowa State in this one. Projected first-round pick, Braden Burries in Arizona. We're going to pick this one up. Jaden Bradley forces the turnover. Burries gets it. Going the other way in transition. Nice little move. Lays it up and in. Burries had 11.6 rebounds. Arizona enters the half up 12. Jaden Bradley lobs it up here to Pete. Pete throws it down for the nice little alley-oop there. Pete had 4 points, 4 rebounds, 3 blocks. Arizona wins 73-57, and they clinch the Big 12 regular season title. Now Duke and NC State. We're going to pick this one up with under 10 minutes left in the first here. Cam Boozer in action here. Watch Boozer in the paint, operating inside, baits the defender, gets the bucket plus the foul. He attracts all the attention really under the rim. And then under 8 left in the first, Isaiah Evans passes it to Boozer here. Shoots it, knocks it down. Going the other way, Malik Brown, up and in.
He's strong.
Gets that one to go. And then under 7 minutes left here in this one. We love it when Pops is watching, enjoying it. Boozer finished with a game-high 26 points in this one. So we welcome in now our college basketball analyst, Sean Farnham. Sean, Cam Boozer, he was fantastic again last night. We've talked about this before, but what has impressed you most from the future lottery pick?
Just his ability to allow the game to come to him. I mean, last night North Carolina State played zone, and it's something they hadn't done really all season long. And Cam Boozer didn't force the issue, and instead he allowed the game to come to him, allowed him to become a playmaker, reads the defense, sees everybody, he draws so much attention, able to set up his teammate with a quick read and just deliver the ball on time and on target with a massive dunk. And that starts to open up the interior. And then this play you saw in the highlights, just post up high. Let him push you up the lane line. That's fine. You know where the two guys are in front of you. Check middle to see where the double team's coming, and then spin away and be able to finish. His understanding of how to execute with the usage rate that he's been asked to operate under all season long for Duke has been outstanding, and he continues to deliver time and time again. And right now, he is the front runner, the clear front runner, in my opinion, to win the Wooden Award this year.
Clear front runner. Wow. Interesting. Wow, that's high praise coming from you. There is one player, though. It's a time of year we're starting to study the draft boards. There's a player on Arizona you think deserves maybe a little bit more recognition, even though he's maybe not at the top of most experts' NBA mock draft. I'm curious who that is.
Yeah, it's Braden Burries. I think the 6'4" freshman has just been outstanding all season long. Leads Arizona in scoring, and this is a team that's very balanced. So he's not called on a ton, but when he's had his opportunities, man, he has stepped up, and he's delivered big time in conference play when they needed him, in particular when Pete was out. He's got such a great feel to the game. To me, he reminds me of Derek White. The versatility, the ability to score when not having a high usage rate, can stretch the defense, but can really score at all 3 levels, comfortable putting the ball down on the floor. And you look at how Derek White played and matured over the time that he eventually got to Colorado and then into the NBA, and where he's averaging 17 points per game. I think the trajectory for a player like Braden Burries is exactly that, a guy that's going to average around 15 to 17 points per contest when he gets into the NBA, and there's a reason why he continues to move up draft boards as Arizona continues to execute, and he's getting tested right now against some of the best defenses in college basketball when you look at the Big 12 night in and night out. He's been really impressive for Tommy Lloyd.
There's not a GM around the NBA that if you said you could get a steal like Derek White, that they wouldn't say, oh, yeah, sign me up. That could be a championship piece. Very, very interesting stuff. Sean Farnham, we always appreciate the time, although next time, bring back the Hawaiian shirt, please. Hey, here's a look at ESPN's latest mock draft. The quartet of freshmen, they are sitting there at the top. Kansas's Darren Peterson is in the top spot. You can see followed by BYU's AJ Devanza, Duke's Cameron Boozer, and then Caleb Wilson, Kingston Flemings,
they round out the top 5. And speaking of NBA prospects, we now welcome into the show from the class of 2027 for the NBA forward, Bruce Branch III. Bruce, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you for having me.
We really appreciate it. You're here for an incredibly exciting reason, right? You're currently 6th on ESPN's SC Next ranking, and you've made a very important decision, and you're here to tell us all where you want to play college ball. So, sir, the floor is yours.
Before I get to that, I would like to thank you for having me. It's a blessing to be here. It's every player's dream to have this opportunity. So first, I would like to thank God. You know, without God's love, his insight, I wouldn't be here. I want to thank the Clutch family, Lucas, Jack, Stella. I want to thank Chad, Roof Performance family, Conta Magic, A-Tope and them. I would like to thank Tony Miller, the garage back in Arizona. He used to train me all the time.
I love
that hot gym. Love that dude. I'd like to thank, you know, Prolific Prep, my team now. You know, I love Ryan. I love all the coaches. Love my teammates. They've been so great to me.
Yeah, you really have a village.
Really. I want to thank my little brother. You know, he's been there for me, man. I love that dude. Through the ups and downs, you know, even if he doesn't want to go to my games, he's always there for me. Love that dude. And last but not least, my mama, my heart. Without her, I wouldn't.
All right.
So.
No, there's no sorry. This is what it's all about. It's these moments. It's these moments with your family, and that you have been able to build this, and to be able to thank the people that you have stood on and by, and that have stood by you. That's what this moment is all about. So take your time, and your lovely mama is over here watching, and I know how very proud she is of you because she mentioned it. I'm so excited to hear about this from you. So please take your time.
Yeah, without her, I wouldn't be here. You know, it was rough. But, you know, thanks to her, I'm here. So, I love her, man. It's all that matters. But that being said, I'm sorry for all the crying, man.
There's no sorries here.
That being said, next year, I'll be playing college basketball at BYU.
Okay, at BYU.
Go Cougs.
Bruce Branch III committing to BYU here on NBA Today. His little brother, his mama, both in studio with him for this moment, and we've already got the jersey on, which I love. Bruce, I can tell how much this journey has meant to you to get to this point. And you talk about your mom, and you talk about your brother. When you now sit in the fact that you were headed to BYU, what kind of player, and maybe even more importantly, what kind of person is this program adding?
Man, one thing my mom always taught me is, you know, respect others. That's the most important thing, and it's all I've done all my life. And, you know, thanks to her, you know, I have that great character. And shoot, my little brother, you know, sometimes he's a little butthole to me, but
that's little siblings, right?
Character development, you know, he's made me a better person. So, real respectful. You know, I love Kevin Young and all of them. So I'm real happy, and I'm excited for this decision.
I think that you already have gained some fans in watching the relationship. You talk about the relationship that you have with your family, and you're only going to gain even more as our viewers learn more about your game. Is there a player or a person that you look at and you say, yeah, you know what, I got a little bit of this, I got a little bit of that in my game?
So, yeah, my mom taught me to be confident. You know, I want to be Bruce Branch III, but some players or player, you know, I love Penny Hardaway. You know, that big guard, you know, 6'8", play make, create his own shot. You know, that's someone I watch a lot. I watch Devin Booker, the mid-range game. I watch pretty much, you know, all the main shot creators, you know, Shea, Devin, Kevin Durant. Yeah, I watch film with Phil Beckner, if you know Phil Beckner. he teaches me a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but my favorite, Penny Hardaway. I love Penny Hardaway.
Penny Hardaway is your favorite. That's a good favorite to have, especially because you've gotten to work out with the LeBrons, the Tyrese Maxeys of the world. And so really you're coming in with such a deep skill set into college. And I'm really excited to see you at BYU. Your mom, your brother, as we mentioned, are here. And so before we say goodbye, I wanted to invite your mama, your brother over here for a congratulations here, because this is what this moment is really all about. So Mom, in the matching jersey that we already have here, and your little brother already rocking the matching jerseys. Congratulations. We're so very happy for you, for your entire family.
Thank you.
And this right here is what it's all about. We cannot wait to watch you at BYU. Congratulations, congratulations. And this is, the BYU certainly got a very, very special young man here. Hey, coming up here on NBA Today, let's talk about some rookies, because Kon Knippel is the new favorite to win Rookie